Paper. I'm sure everyone in this tournament is using it in some way or another. For judges, it's to use it for speaker ballots, keeping track of our scores and making sure the tournament runs fine. For us, it represents months of preparation, months of blood, sweat, and tears. For school people, well, most likely you're using it for homework, you're using it to complete your assignments, and it remains to you one of the most important aspects in your academic career. But outside of these spaces I mentioned, a piece of paper can determine your existence. For it was reported by the World Bank Development Initiative that 850 million children and people were unregistered in South Ghana, in South Africa, and what that caused is that people get more prone to trafficking, exploitation, and kidnapping because there was no protection by state that was necessary to be provisioned upon them. Because in state's eyes, these people are just numbers. Numbers that accumulate and aggregate every single year with no control, with no solution. So, Judge, I'm going to bring you through a simple two-step journey in my speech. The first step in my journey is by highlighting the two major issues with this problem. Secondarily, solutions we can act upon and model from other countries. Now let's move on towards the problems then. What's the problem at stake here? First, it is not one or two individuals deciding or refusing to garner or get a certificate. It was the problem of geographical access. Why, for most of individuals living within the States, in the Philippines, in Malaysia, my home country even, when you live in forest or in the edge of your society, people consider you to be rather fringe. And not only that, but your ability to garner logistics, to move from point A to point B, where you're able to register your child, is unnecessarily the hardest precedent for these people to go on to. Why, for most people, they're not birthing children inside well-renowned hospitals. They're birthing children inside their own homes with the help of filial ties from grandmothers, from people related close to you. And there isn't the thought of having to register a birth certificate. And what that causes is them not to be recognized by state. And if they were to gasp or attempt to ask for any help from state, they cannot garner that help because state doesn't recognize them as validated individuals. They have no passports, no birth certificates, no ICs, and those things add up, make them incomprehensible towards the system. Secondarily, it's the hurdles of bureaucracy. Why? For you to register, it requires a lengthy process, not just logistically, but in the optics of garnering your birth certificate. Why, for most people and most individuals living on the fringes, they aren't as well educated as reported by UNHC, where around 120 million people around the globe, and especially most predominantly scattered in Southeast Asia, don't have that knowledge. And because of that, they live in a bubble, unaware of the importance of registering your child, unaware of the importance of labeling your child as part of your citizen, as part of participant in your country. And that sort of thing adds up, not only towards the strains economically, but an opportunity cost towards the entirety of your well-being. And what that causes is a spiral, a slippery slope, because you get parent A and parent B who do not know any better for their child, and that cycle of knowledge grows and it becomes even further more entrenched into their thoughts. And the thought becomes then lost in translation because the idea of registration or the idea of that piece of paper becomes illegitimate towards the mind because it isn't rendered as one of the important things in the daily lives. Then you might ask, What could be the solution towards these heinous problems? There are two I would like to propose. The first is that we need to integrate more educational based models into our system, into our schooling system. What does that mean? These individuals tend to still go to school, but school does not teach them the importance of labeling yourself as citizens. Yes, schools in this area might be rural, might be communal, but there is and is required for the government to garner some sort of solvency to work together with these community centers, to teach parents the importance of registering your children, so that same cycle of entrenchment does not even more become entrenched. Second, more digital integrated systems for this. How does this look like? We can model India's Aadhaar system, where more than 1.1 billion people are registered under the digital infrastructure curated for the ease of access. What does this look like? It looks like you being able to register your child through mobile means. You able to ask the government, to request the government for your child to be recognized as a citizen through the tips of your fingers. And for families who cannot afford to go from point A to point B, it means a lot. While they might not see it directly, they will see it in their everyday lives. They will feel it once they're able to get the allocated government benefits, once they're able to get sustenance from welfare programs. Only then will we help people in need. So, what is the conclusion towards this speech? We should treat these people the same way we treat other people, not just because of the failure of our systems, but because we chose to act upon it. Why? These people aren't numbers, they're citizens, they're people who live, walk, and communicate just like us. And just because of that barrier, with that one piece of paper, shouldn't be the determiner to how they live out their lives, shouldn't be the precursor to how they feel, and that same cycle should not be repeated. And I call again, people who live on these fringes shouldn't be recognized as less. They should be recognized as more due to the help that we're able to allocate towards them, the education we're able to allocate towards them. For a piece of paper is not a determiner, but rather an accelerator towards their positionings in life. Thank you.